Hi, this video we're looking at comparing energy resources. When we compare energy resources, we need to compare them on many different dimensions. One dimension that we can look at is the setup/decommissioning cost and time. We need to consider how much it will cost and how long it will take before it generates electricity, and the cost and time it takes to return the land to its former use. For example, nuclear power takes many years to build and then many years to decommission. This is because of the amount of radioactive substances in the power station. The next dimension we can compare energy resources on is reliability issues. This looks at both how much of the resource is there, i.e. will the resource be exhausted soon. Also, is the energy resource good at being able to supply the right amount of electric when we demand it? Fossil fuels are potentially bad for the first part of the reliability issue because they will potentially run out in the future. However, we will run out of these in the medium term and not straight away, but we still need to be aware that at some point in the future fossil fuels will run out. Fossil fuels are very good at providing the exact amount of energy that we demand, as we are able to increase the amount of fuel that is being burnt. Some renewables like wind, tidal, geothermal and solar are poor at being able to increase their supply of energy because they are only able to produce the amount of energy that the resource provides them and no more. However, other renewables like hydroelectric power and tidal power for certain times of the day are able to respond to changes in demand as they can increase the amount of electricity that is produced from these resources. The next characteristic that we can compare energy resources on is environmental issues, such as atmosphere pollution, noise pollution, visual pollution, the using up of resources, the destruction of habitats and other, which includes the disruption of leisure activities and possible risks to the environment. The environmental impact needs to be considered for obtaining the resource, building the facility, using the energy resource, and life after the facility has been used. Another dimension we can compare energy resources on is running costs. These look at what are the costs involved in facilitating the resource in generating electricity. Renewables tend to have a very low running cost in comparison to non-renewable energy resources. A final factor that we can compare energy resources on is location issues. Some of the energy resources, especially renewables, can only be used in certain locations. For example, a hydroelectric power plant needs a valley that is very rainy or has an existing water supply. We cannot build a hydroelectric power station anywhere, and there are only few locations that we can. Also, the yield from certain renewables depend on where it is located. For example, a solar cell will generate much more power in Spain as opposed to England. This is because Spain has nicer weather where it is sunnier, whereas England it is often overcast. Non-renewable power stations are able to be built anywhere. This is because you take the resources to the power station. You take the coal, the oil, the natural gas, or the uranium and plutonium to where the power station is. For more videos, content, quizzes and past papers, go on to www.elevise.co.uk.